I had to, like tell the client, like, I have no details of this project. So can you please go back and explain this to me? He said that he had a chat with Vertex Brand. Vertex Brand was supposed to go at the airport here in Dodoma because they had recently installed lights on the runway of the airport which allowed them to fly at night. When I clarified to the client that I haven't spoken to Vertex yet, so if he recommended you to me, let's have a quick recap of the description. Just tell me quickly what do you want, and then the client actually was kind enough to elaborate. It was a pretty weird situation. The next day I needed to get there before 6 p.m. and I'll meet brother Eric, and he will give me full information of the projects. So we did, and when I say we, I mean Sombrero was there too. Remember Sombrero in this video?
I am Sombrero.
So I get there, brother Eric pulls me aside and he tells me, we have a situation. And I say, He said that in order for you to fly a drone at the airport, you actually need a permit, and the permit has to be written and sent to the office for them to approve. And you also have to send the details of your drone, because once you enter the airport, automatically your drones get locked. Did you know about that? But also the second problem was there was someone who was supposed to talk about the installation of the lights there and give us a good description of the project. The person was not there. We need to brainstorm something quickly because the project was supposed to be out as a PSA. What's a PSA? PSA. PSA. Long form. Prostate. No, not prostate. Something like public service. It's a public service announcement. So this is what I thought. Why don't we just create a full testimonial video where the passengers just speak of how they feel about the evening flights, their advantages, and if they see them as beneficial or not. And we'll construct something there with the B-roll images and stuff, okay? You know what? That's a good idea. So I asked, do you have anyone that you can talk to and get us, to get them on the camera? And they said no. So I asked a friend of mine there who was actually a staff there, and we asked them to actually film with us, film the testimonial, but also ask around for anyone who will be ready to appear with the video. And it was not a comfortable situation for someone like me who's used to like edit stuff inside and not go out and meet people and start asking them. They look at me as if I'm a weird guy or something. But you know what? I pulled up my balls, hold them tight, and said, you know what? I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna ask these people, hey, do you want to be in the video? You know what? This video is going to be a blast. We're going to create something beautiful for the company and the airport. We need people to know that they can fly at night, and you can be our hero. You can let people know that they can do that. So I did. And it was not so nice. A few rejections here and there, but finally we got like 2 people.
Kwa majina naitwa Halfan Jumaidi. Yes. Kwa jina naitwa Halfan Jumaidi.
Naitwa Engineer Fatma Amur.
The second part was actually, I was there with this one camera, okay? But we needed someone else to go on the end of the runway to film the landing and the taking off of the plane. Why? Because at the moment we had not gained access to the permit which allows us to fly a drone which lands and leaves the airport. So my dude Sombrero had to go there and film the landing and the departure of the plane, while I was here ready to actually capture the plane coming. Passengers coming out of the plane. Loading off and loading all the luggage. And people getting back on the plane.
Hapo angalia huko. Okay, angalia huko. Okay. So,
I was aiming to capture anything that moves at the moment. You never know what you actually use in a project like that. No one has given me directive on where I need to stand, maybe things I should not do and stuff. And I was pretty worried of my safety, because you have this plane right in front of you here, okay? And it's blasting its engines and it's loud as hell. Everyone else is wearing protective gear, the headsets that cover your ears, your eardrums don't get damaged by the noise. And I'm not, I'm just there filming with these headphones that don't cover me well. This plane blasting its engine. The noise, and I'm just right behind of this dude, right? I'm saying, this is my guy. He moves this way, I move this way, like a human shield. If he's standing there and I'm a couple of feet back, that means I'm safe. We successfully finished filming the activities that were going on around there, and the plane took off and Eric and Sombrero got back. Make sure that I had everything on my end, and also I gave backup to Eric, so in case anything happens he has the files. And what was left was just for me to get back and start editing. Now I get back to my editing desk, I'm ready, I'm pumped, I'm going to make this video a killer. I'm thinking to myself that I had captured the best B-roll I could capture. Yeah, right. I look at the footage, I forgot to shoot at a higher frame rate. I was supposed to shoot 60 frames per second so I can later turn it into 24 frames per second, get this smooth B-roll that I'm going to use, for the video. But the problem is I only shot at 23.976 frames per second. Now, for those of you who don't understand frames per second, here's the quick explanation so you can actually get. A video is actually a sequence of still images that make up motion picture. So in every single second of a video you watch, any video you watch, it's actually a series of still images that are sequenced together in a particular second. That's what a video is. If you have a camera that shoots 24 frames per second, 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second, 280 frames per second, 1000 frames per second, whatever frames per second that you can shoot, you tend to have a multiple or different numbers of still frames per second that makes up a video. You understand? So if you shoot at 60 frames per second, every single second of your video has 60 still frames or still images inside it. You understand? So 2 seconds 60, 60, 120 in total, that make up 2 seconds. You understand? So when you take the 60 frames per second video and you put it in editing software, so let's say like Premiere Pro, okay? If you stretch out the timeline, you will actually find that you will have still 60 images that make up a second. You have already filmed your video and it's 60 frames per second, but if you modify the video and make it, let's say, to play 24 frames per second. So in Premiere Pro it's pretty easy. You go to the video that is in your project bin, okay? You right click, you go to modify, and you'll see it gives you the option of interpret the footage. Now if you interpret the footage, you will have the frame rate that you shot with, and you have to assume the frame rate. Now when you assume the frame rate, you can type in any number you want. So if I type in like 24 frames per second or 23.976 frames per second, it means that the video now will not play 60 frames in a second. It will only play 24 frames per second. So if my video initially had 60 frames per second, had 60 images that made up 1 second, that played in a second, but now can play only 24 frames per second, it means the rest of the images will be played on the second and the third second and the fourth second, and that's how you get slow motion. Do you understand? If it took me 1 second to play 60 images, but now it takes me 1 second to play 24 frames per second, it means the 1 second is now stretched out to multiple seconds. The 1 second that had 60 images is now stretched out. Do you understand what I'm saying, or am I just fumbling here? You know, some people are professionals, so I know I'm just wasting time, but that's the point. That's what I wanted to say. So now I have these B-roll videos that were meant to be slow motion footage, okay? But they are not 60 frames per second. They are 23, they are 24 frames per second, 23.976 frames per second. So what I did is actually, I didn't go to speed, because by default in Premiere it's 100. The speed is 100. That's the default normal speed of your clip. If you make it like 50, let's say, it will become slow motion, but it's not the true slow motion, because it has jittery in it. So that's not the true slow motion. The true slow motion is when you modify. So I had to force it, change the style of the edit. Instead of having a 24 frames per second, which was now default, I had to make them 18 frames per second. Now you can change a clip of 24 frames per second to 18 frames per second without it looking like stop motion. 18 frames per second is the lowest you can go for 24 frames per second. Now that was not the aim at the beginning, okay? I chose not to use like the super slow-mo kind of B-roll video. I just put an overlay of all the activities that was going out there together with the testimonial, and it turned out pretty good, you know. And instead of making it like with the corporate music, I chose some action music in it, you know, give it a little punch, you know, a little oomph for the clients. Normally people will tend to put corporate music like you know, the you know what I'm saying. I sent it to Brother Eric, and Brother Eric actually loved it, which made me so happy, by the way. Yeah, good stuff. That project wouldn't have been possible without the power of recommendation from Vertex brand and improvisation from us. Let me know if you like this kind of video. I'll be making more of these project breakdown type of videos, and I don't do much filming these days. I only do editing, so I'm going to be doing like project breakdowns of the editing projects, or maybe learn together, because I learn new stuff in every single video that I make. So maybe if it helps you guys, I'll do some, you know? Yeah, so thank you again guys for subscribing to this channel, and don't forget to go out there and create something awesome.
Kabla hujaja ndege za usiku katika jiji letu la Dodoma, kulikuwa unapelekea kushindwa sisi wafanyabiashara au sisi wasafiri kuweza kuondoka kwa wakati.
Ndio unaona safari za usiku zina umuhimu sana, kwa sababu during the day unaweza ukafanya kazi zako ambazo ni productive, alafu ukishamaliza kazi zako then at night you can fly and go back to the other place ambapo unafanya kazi zako zingine.
Hakika ujio wa ndege za usiku katika jiji letu la Dodoma imetupelekea sisi wafanyabiashara kuweza kufanya biashara zetu kwa wakati. Tunawashukuru mamlaka ya viwanja vya ndege Tanzania kwa kuweza kufanya Dodoma ikawa kama mchana.